welcome to Hunter Fuel, a supernatural rewatch podcast for adults who enjoy their show with a chaser. I'm Liz.
And I'm Lynn.
Thanks so much for joining us for season 1, episode 15, The Benders. We model responsible drunkenness here. All participants are way over 21. No one is pregnant. No one will be driving, handling weapons, operating heavy machinery, or making wind chimes out of human bones. If you're playing along with us, those are the rules. If you decide not to follow them and you do something stupid, don't blame us. So before we get started, so Lynn, let me ask you, so what are you drinking this evening?
Since I know I told you this off camera beforehand. I am not drinking tonight. So I am just drinking a ginger ale. My stomach is
Okay.
not playing nicely with others.
Well, I am sorry to hear that you are still feeling ooky. So just as an FYI, I think we'll table this for another time, but we're going to file this away. Wizard Dave, in the editing process, realized that on two separate occasions we missed a square. And
Mm.
both of them you had on your game card, and I did not. So the first was in Scarecrow. There was an electronics flicker when the couple was driving past the orchard and the car stutters and dies. We call those electronics flickers. And the other was in Faith when the pastor's wife was summoning the Reaper. So you have a summoning and an electronics flicker. So we're gonna file those away, and so at some point, if you have those on your card, and it's not in the episode itself, we're gonna give you a couple of free squares. So we'll see if we can get you to 5 in a row with those on a night when you're not sticking to ginger ale. Uh,
Yeah.
so the featured cocktail this week is a hunter cocktail. It is 1.5 ounces of bourbon, 1/2 ounce of cherry brandy, 1 dash of orange bitters. You build all that in a glass and you serve it over ice with a maraschino cherry. Wizard Dave, can you bring up our supernatural game cards for us? So, all right, taking a look at the cards here. I don't know. I
As it doesn't seem to matter that I'm drinking ginger ale or bourbon because I'd say I have maybe three.
yeah, I'm not super excited about mine either. Let's see what happens. So, as
Yeah.
always, the
Yeah,
first one
just
is on the house. So,
cheers.
cheers.
How is that scrumptious cocktail, which actually didn't sounded pretty good.
It's pretty good. I
I say the
it's
bitters I
hard.
might struggle with.
Yeah, so I will admit I went very light on the bitters because that's not my favorite part, but it's nice. Not my favorite, but it's okay.
Not your
So
not your least favorite either.
it is better than the asylum. That is for darn sure. So, all right, well, with that, let's get this show on the road.
All right. Well, like usual, all right, hitting play. We are back 22 years ago at the old house, and we've seen this beginning several times. So,
Yeah, they're not getting super creative with the beginning yet. Hang with
no.
me. I swear it'll get better.
So, yeah, I mean, just them talking about basically just we're basically just seeing snippets of all the old episodes from Bloody Mary. Basic The only new one really that I noticed was Bloody Mary is now in there. So now we are in Hibbling, Minnesota.
Yes, we're in Hibbing. And I have paused it here for two reasons. One, because if you've seen the show all the way through, you know that there will be a recurring character who shows up later in the series who is from Hibbing. So this is the very first time that Hibbing in Minnesota is mentioned on the show. And now that character is clearly not in this episode, but Hibbing is. So that's kind of a fun little moment here. The other thing is the very first thing that we see as the show starts is we get this real close-up figurine of some kind of like a dragony, monstery looking figurine next to, the corner of a television here. So I think that's kind of a cute way to open the episode with this little monster figurine. All right, so hitting play.
So yeah, so basically there's a small kid that is in, we could even argue saying that this is a creepy hotel room,
Hmm, I
potentially.
think I think this is an apartment. I
Is that
think
an
it's an apartment.
apartment? Okay. So the kid sees this gentleman walking out to his car, and he's just kind of, like all little kids do, just staring and basically being a I wouldn't even say peeping Tom, because that insinuates something much creepier in a different way. But
No, but something has clearly attracted his attention. I've paused it briefly here because so he hears this noise, this
yeah.
young boy here, looks out the window, and in the parking lot is this really sketchy looking red truck with a camper topper, kind of hiding in the corner of the parking lot here. Okay, so hitting play.
So yes, so he is, so the gentleman is just wandering through, and he hears something. He very clearly is sort of wandering around trying to figure out where this noise is coming from. And it's like chains dragging, and he looks under the car, and suddenly you hear this squeal. He gets dragged under the car, and he's screaming, and the fingernails are scratching, and the boy witnesses all of this.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so now we're back in this apartment, and you see that the mother and the boy are being questioned by the police, who, they're like, wait, the cops have been here all week. What haven't we already answered? And we very quickly, well, actually, I see that you've paused it. So,
Uh, so, so one thing I wanted to mention, the gentleman who just got dragged under a car, that actor, his name is Ryan Drescher. Um, Actually, I have it wrong. The little boy, my bad. The little boy here, his name is Evan. The actor who plays little Evan, his name is Ryan Drescher. He appeared alongside Jensen in an episode of Dark Angel called Borrowed Time, which is
ah,
season 2, episode 12 of Dark Angel. Sadie Lawrence, who plays Evan's mom, also appeared alongside Jensen in an episode of Dark Angel, but it was a different episode called Hello, Goodbye, which was episode 17 of season 2. Um, Only other thing I'm going to mention before we get moving is this episode was written by John Scheiben, who also wrote Skin, Hookman, and Scarecrow. He's got some really great episodes under his belt, and I think we can assume some good things just by seeing his name as the writer. And it was directed by Peter Ellis, who previously directed Bloody Mary. So again, fingers crossed, we've got a good episode on our hands.
yes, definitely. So, so she's saying, "What in the world could you possibly want to hear more?" And we realize it's Sam and Dean who are
I love
posing
they both
as.
take their hats off and we're like, oh, yes, yes. I think that's a great way for this episode to start. I think that was really clever.
Yes, yeah. So they're, and of course they're saying, "I don't, it doesn't matter how crazy it sounds, just what did you hear?" And he's saying a monster, this scary, this frightening thing. And the mother, of course, is not buying it. And she's like, "Tell them what you were watching." And he says the Godzilla movie and mentions the one. And of course, Dean loves this particular Godzilla movie and thinks it's the best one and starts going back and forth with the kid. And Sam is like, "Can we keep to the point here, please?" Which I love that little bit of back and
Oh,
forth.
and
You
Dean
kind of,
looks so contrite, like, oh yeah, you're right, business. My bad.
yeah.
Back to
so
work.
so the kid is describing how it sounded, and I love here when you see this here, it's this whining growl. And keep
Yeah,
that in mind because that comes back later on, that whining growl.
it does.
So yeah, so now they are at the local pub, which of course is their, seems like their favorite little hangout spot. And we've got Dean here playing darts.
Hmm.
And he's not 100% certain that this is their type of job, their cup of tea, which I realize is not really the most appropriate comment for their thing. And now, of course, we've got Dean takes a drink. So we,
Dean drinks his beer. We've paused it. Let's take a look and see if either of us has
Dean
Dean eats or
or
drinks.
drink. Oh, I
And
do actually.
oh, good for you. You
Oh
know
yeah,
what? I do not. However, can't let you drink all alone since you have a
no,
ginger ale.
no. I was gonna say.
Somebody has to drink. It's going to be me.
Uh-huh. Please do.
All right, so
Please.
we got one on the board.
Yay! So, Dean, here. Are we all set?
We are all set.
Okay. So, Dean is not convinced this is really their type of job, but Sam keeps saying, "Dad marked this on the map. Let's
Well, and I
just
love this line here where he says, This county has more missing people per capita than anywhere else in the state." Like, there's a whole lot of people going missing from here.
Yes, yes, I do. I thank you for bringing that line up.
No,
I meant to mention that one. I love that line.
I heard you thinking.
Yes, you normally do.
Well, you think so loudly. It's easy to hear.
I was just saying, you don't think it's the 30 plus years or
No, that
something?
can't possibly be it.
No,
No,
no, of course not.
no, not at all. But I do.
So,
Go
so
ahead.
they mentioned that. All right, let's get back to the hotel. We saw one about 5 miles out. Dean is going to, as he says, go take a leak, and he's going to meet him out in
And as the
the.
cat, I love this shot. So Sam is walking through the parking lot. The camera is following him, and he
Yeah.
walks past this really shifty looking red truck with the camper topper.
Yep. And it's like he hears something, but he can't quite put his finger on it. He puts the journal down, takes the flashlight out. He hears something, and I got to admit, the first couple of times I watched this, I jumped a foot in the air, and I just did it again. And I watched this episode 3 or 4 times, and I still jump with that damn cat. Oh
Thugs, man. So I paused it briefly. A tiny, kind of not really a spoiler alert. There is an episode later in the series where Dean has a run in with a cat. that does not go Dean's way. And he takes some good-natured ribbing from the fans for being like scared at a cat. But I just want to point out here, like Sam has his own interaction with a cat that doesn't go terribly well. Oh, wait, that's scary. All right, hitting
Uh,
play.
yeah. So so he's kind of shaking his head like, holy crap, I just got scared by a cat.
I kill monsters for a living, and the cat got me. Yeah,
Yeah. Sam,
I
if it
love
makes you feel
his
any better, I've
field.
watched that scene 5 times and I still jumped.
His
So
POV shots from under the car.
yeah.
I think they're great too.
So
And now Dean comes out. Shifty truck is gone.
on and of course the journal is just sitting there,
Yep.
but we're missing a key individual. And he's looking around and looking in the car, and he suddenly realizes Sam is missing.
Sam's
And
gone.
he's gonna start hollering out like, hey, have you guys seen somebody out here in the last hour or so?
Yeah,
No. And
like
he
Dean
starts,
is in an abject panic, and we get a
and we
Sammy.
have a Sammy, and we have a Sammy.
We do.
So,
Um,
but here, let's let this play out for a minute.
I agree.
So, and then he realizes there are cameras.
Hmm.
So he is going to wander and figure out how he can get access to those cameras as he's still screaming Sam's name.
Yeah.
So now, you know what? Now that we're at a little bit better of a pausing point, let's see if either of us has a Sammy on our bingo cards.
Let's see.
I
I don't have that either.
I don't either.
And and I know that we're about to get a fake ID. I do
Yes.
have fake IDs. So I'm going to check
I
that off now.
I'm trying to see if I have that one. I don't think I do. Nope. Nope, I
All right,
don't.
I do. So cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, that one's getting better. But I do just before quickly.
Yeah.
Let me try that one again quickly before you hit play. I do love how quickly Dean just goes straight into desperate panic mode that he cannot find his brother.
Yeah,
Um,
and like I've mentioned several times, and I know we've talked about this before, how much I love the subtleties in Jensen's face. Like
yeah,
it shows in the eyes. Like he
it's
does,
all yeah.
it's written all over his face of holy shit, my brother's missing.
My brother's
And
missing.
he
Yeah,
doesn't have to say anything, nothing. It's all right there.
yeah. You see it in the performance. Absolutely.
Love it, love it, love it. I know. Well,
Hey, I'm with you, man.
as I said in the beginning with when we were recording, I don't want to say the pilot, but our intro.
Hmm.
I love shows that have meatiness to them,
Yeah,
that have like, and to me that's that meatiness, all those subtleties and all of that. Like that
yeah,
grabs me in faster than anything. Like, oh, I love that stuff.
yeah. I agree. I agree.
So, okay, so hitting play. So it and of course he's now saying Sam is the cousin. And they were doing karaoke, having a couple of beers. And just to back up, we are at a police station, and he is playing off, of course, being a cop. And oh, and this is when he says Winchester, he says yes, just like the rifle. And this is actually the only time where that is referred to as, which I thought was
Hmm.
interesting. So they give a description of what of Dean Winchester, who of course is supposed to be dead.
Hmm.
So, so
So I paused it for
yeah,
two reasons. So one, this is where we learn Sam and Dean's birthdays. So the fans know, and both Jared and Jensen will post happy birthday videos to Sam and Dean Winchester on their birthdays
that's
every
cute.
year. So we can see their police records here. Sam is his birthday is listed as May 2nd, 1983. So of course we know that Mary died on November 2nd, so exactly 6 months later after that. And then Dean's birthday is listed as March 7th. I'm sorry, that's his death date. His birthday is listed as January 24th, 1979. So this is how we know what their birthdays are. That March 7th, 2006 death date for Dean is the date from Skin when he was supposedly killed m- after murdering a
Yeah,
bunch of people. So, and
yeah,
we can see here it says, subject was the prime suspect in multiple homicide investigation in St. Louis
yeah.
area prior to death. The other thing that's here, and I can see you want to say something. I'm going to stop in a second and let you carry on.
I know.
Is
I'm just interested to see if you're gonna say the same thing I'm about to say because I could see you picking up on it also.
Okay, well, so one we have it identifies Dean. It says no distinctive markings or tattoos. So something that's kind of fun here is that originally the original intention for Dean Winchester was that he be all tatted up, but they couldn't afford it. At this point in his life, Jensen had no visible tattoos. So they would have had to, every single time one of them was going to show on camera, they would have had to apply that tattooing, in the makeup trailer, and it would have
Yep.
added, it would have been too expensive and too time consuming. The other thing here is they list both of them as 6'4".
You just named the one thing I was gonna comment on.
Which I think is hilarious because okay, so we know that Sam is the same height as Jared Padalecki, which is just shy of 6'5". But Dean is visibly shorter than he is. So I think it's funny that they list them both as 6'4". I think they also slightly underestimate their weights at this point. So what I think is kind of fun about this is like these are suspect descriptions
Yep.
that they have. So apparently Dean is just really intimidating in person. That people remember him being taller than he actually is.
So yeah, and that's actually in one of the error like because of course Wikipedia does an error thing, which of course I
Hmm.
love reading, and that's
Hmm.
one of the errors um is that they cite Dean's height as being 6'4" when
Incorrectly.
it's actually like 6'1".
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he's just shy of 6'1".
yeah,
So why do we have it paused? So this sheriff that he meets here,
yes,
her name is Sheriff Kathleen Hudak,
yep.
and the actress's name is Jessica Steen. And I looked at her IMDb and I'm like, oh, Lynn's gonna know who this is.
Yep, and that was my next line also, because she plays Lisa on Heartland, aka Jack's wife. And yeah, you better believe I was about to mention that one.
And what's amusing is so I know her from NCIS. She played Agent Paula Cassidy on
Yeah.
on NCIS alongside Mark Harmon and Michael Weatherly, Cody DePablo, a bunch of other
Okay.
great folks. So I did recognize her, but from a different show.
Yep. No, I definitely, as soon as I saw her, I was like, yes, another Heartland person.
I know her.
Yay! You know how I get about my Heartland people.
Okay, so I think we can hit play here. The one thing I do
Yeah,
think is fun is so the sheriff is talking about it, okay, so Dean has arrived. He's looking for Sam
yeah,
Winchester. Dean identifies himself as being Sam's cousin. And they're
yes.
like, oh, we've got a Dean Winchester deceased, multiple homicide is suspect. And he's like, handsome though.
Yeah, I love that. And it's suddenly like, ah, crap.
Like,
All
okay,
right.
I know I'm a bad boy, but I'm good looking.
I know. I love that line. There are some good one-liners in here.
There are. All right, so we're moving on
Moving
here.
on. Yes. So yeah, so he's and he kind of describes himself to her. Well, obviously she doesn't know he's describing himself as kind of the black sheep of the family.
Hmm.
So he's so she's like, there are no leads, like there's no nothing. He's like, oh, I've got a lead. I saw a traffic cam just a little bit back. And she's like, oh, I have access to that footage. So let's do this the right way. If you could fill this out. And he's like, oh, and you could see in the look on his face, oh
I'd
crap, how the
really rather
hell,
not fill out any forms.
yeah, how do I get out of this one?
Yeah.
So he, of course, bats those gorgeous eyes of his.
And it
And
gets him nowhere.
yeah, but somehow, so he actually starts sort of telling her the truth without
Does.
giving a lot of, like, saying that Sam's his responsibility, and basically sort of saying the story of kind of almost their upbringing with leaving a hell of a lot out.
Yeah, and I do love this exchange here where he's saying, Sam's my responsibility and he's asking, you got a lot of missing persons here. Any of them come back? And we've paused it by the way.
Yeah.
And she said and she doesn't say anything. She just looks at him and he says, Sam's coming back.
Back.
I'm bringing him back. Yeah, like
Yeah.
Dean is not going to rest until he gets his brother back.
Nope.
Uh, which are hitting
Which,
play again
yes, which is a
are
great lead in to now we see a cage and we realize it's Sam. So,
Sam is in a cage. Yes.
yes. So, so he is all locked up, and of course, typical guy. And actually, I can't even say typical guy because let's be honest, anyone would be trying to get out of the stupid
He's trying to
cage.
get out. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and he realizes the guy that the kid was describing is right next to him.
Yeah. So real quickly, this actor, John Cuthbert, who plays Alvin Jenkins, he was not supposed to play this character, but the actor who was originally cast got stuck in a snowstorm and couldn't make it, and they needed an actor who fitted the wardrobe they already had.
Oh,
So so they cast him because he was the right size.
so, so so the sheriff has now brought the images out to Dean, and you realize that the license plate is new, but the truck is old from the camera, meaning that it is most likely stolen. And here we go. Here's a key scene: is he sees this really kind of old grubby truck with kind of a whining growl like we heard
Hmm.
earlier, and he realizes that that's probably the truck that that kid
It's
heard
something
earlier.
mechanical. Yeah, that it's not
Yeah.
a monster, it's something, or at least something mechanical is involved. Yeah,
Yes.
it's a clue that gets the wheels turning for Dean.
Yeah, and I love how he says, "I'll be damned."
I'll
It's
be
like,
damned.
yep, that kid was actually correct with that one.
Yeah.
So so now Sam is talking to this Alvin Jenkins, who was the guy that the kid was talking about, and he and Sam was like, "Yeah, I'm here to rescue you," and he's like, "Man, you're doing a piss poor job."
This is not a good rescue. Rescue not off to a good start.
Nope.
But I do love that Sam immediately says, "My brother is out there looking for us." Like Sam knows Dean is coming for him.
Yep, absolutely. And he's like, "Well, what is this thing?" And
Yeah.
he's like, "Just wait and see for yourself."
Well, and the guy's like, "What do you mean? What is it?" Because of course Sam thinks it's a monster.
Yep,
Um,
demon something. And actually a line is coming up here that I absolutely love. As this guy comes in, they unlock the cage and they throw food in because
we're
turns
gonna
out
come
they
back to that sausage they just gave him. So put a little pin in that. We're coming back to that sausage. And we
and
get the "I'll be
I'll
damned."
be damned, they're just people. And he's like,
And
yeah,
Jenkins says, "What did
what'd
you
you
expect?
expect?
Of course it's people." And he's like, "Yeah, there's not an "oh, of course" there."
so yeah, so it's like, oi. So, and actually kind of remember that line for later, because to me that kind of kicks back in later of, oh, they're just people.
They're just
Um,
people. I have paused it briefly. We get this line here from Jenkins where, Sam is like, "What's going on here?" Because they're both in these cages. They've unlocked just Jenkins' cage, not Sam's, to
yeah.
feed him. And then they lock them back up and go away. And they're just people. So they're trying to figure out what is going on here. Like, why do human beings have other human beings locked up in cages? And Jenkins has this line, "It's Ned Beatty time." So that's a reference to an infamous film from 1972 called Deliverance. Trigger warning here. Um, Ned Beatty is an actor in that film, and it includes a very graphic scene of Ned Beatty's character being raped by a mountain man. Um, so this guy thinks, and he's got a line actually coming up in a bit, that it's just hillbillies looking for love in all the wrong places. So he's assuming that their intentions are non-consensual sexual in nature. And then Sam responds, "Yeah, I think that's the least of our worries right now." All right.
Yeah.
Moving it along, hitting play.
Yeah. So yes. So Sam is, oh, and here's your line.
Yeah.
And
Good.
and so Sam is now trying to yank down this cable to try and have something to use for leverage, or
Yeah.
just to try and
He's looking
get,
for, what are his resources?
yeah,
That he's going to continue looking for some way out of this cage as long as he's able. And
yeah.
he realizes he can grab this cable here, and he's trying to pull that down.
So
Uh
we are now back in the police car, and the sheriff has now run, as Dean has told her his name is, um, Gregory's badge, and it has just come up, and she's pulling the car over, and it turns out the badge is stolen, and there's a picture, and of
Here's
course
a
the
photo
badge.
of this handsome African descent man.
And and his line is, "Well, I've lost some weight and I have Michael Jackson's skin disease." It's like, oh dear God, Dean.
But yeah,
Um,
he's trying and failing to talk himself out of this. I
so,
really do love this. So first off, he asked to go with her. She said no way, but here he is in the car with her. So clearly she changed her mind at some point. But this
Yeah.
is a fantastic conversation the two of them have here.
Yes, and what I love is that it's pure honesty where he talks about that he basically literally pulled Sam out of a fire and that he's
Mhm.
felt responsible for him ever since. And that is
Like
the
it's my
honesty.
job to keep him safe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's my family, and that's 100% the truth. And she
it's
says,
all true.
I'm sorry, you've given me no choice. I have to take you in. And you see, she looks up at a picture
Mhm.
and she suddenly is like, huh, crikey, like it's written all over her face. After we find Sam Winchester, then
Yeah.
I'll take you in because you realize that whoever is in that picture, there's probably a similar story to
Yeah.
what Dean has just told her about, like the relationship between him and Sam is probably very
Mhm.
similar to her and that gentleman. So
There's a
he yeah,
story there. Yeah.
yes. So Sam is able to pull down the cable and he's like, it's just a bracket. And he's like, what were you expecting? And
Yeah.
his door pops open.
Right.
And Sam's like, get back in there. This is way too simple. This is a trap. You want to get back in there. And he's like, oh, hell no, I'm going for it. And Sam is doing everything in his brother to get the guy to stay put. And he's having none of it. Absolutely
Yeah.
none. So the guy thinks he's home free. He he's running for it. His cage slams shut and locks. So the guy's now
Yeah, so
out.
this is not a short. Like this was he thinks maybe when Sam pulled this bracket down, something shorted out and opened his cage. But as soon as
Yes.
he's gone, the cage locks again. So this is not a
Yeah.
short. They deliberately let him go here.
Yep. And of course, you see the knife, and he finds a knife, and he goes, "Oh,
Mhm.
thank you." So he
Yeah,
thinks
he thinks,
he's,
what a stroke of luck. I
oh,
found this knife lying here out in the open.
yeah, in the rain, and it's of course and now it's raining,
Oh, it's
and
pissing rain.
yep. At least he's getting wet. So thank
He
you.
is
It's
getting wet.
at least it's realistic, and now he gets beaten, and he just got tire ironed by the people who are holding him captive, and
Yeah.
you suddenly start to realize what is going on because they are clearly chasing him down,
Mhm.
and
Just notice how hard it's raining in this scene. I want to come back to
yes,
this a little bit later in this episode. But
yes,
yeah, he's running through this pouring rain. These two guys are chasing him with weapons.
yep, and just needling him and
They could
basically torture
absolutely
him.
have killed him by this point. That they're
Yeah.
toying with him.
Oh, 100%. They're 100%. He's just had a rod go right through it, and then there's this wire that he has now tripped over, and he's down. And the two guys now go, and it's time, and you can hear this, and you can hear the screams,
Yeah.
and
So
we
they've
all,
stabbed him through the chest. Sam
yep,
can hear him screaming. So Mr. Jenkins is no more.
yep. So now we're at least getting a little bit of a better understanding as to what the this family is all about. We know that
Hmm.
we know that they are definitely up to no good. It's just not up to the no good that the gentleman originally thought.
Right, right.
So now the sheriff and Dean are kind of having a conversation of, all right, let's keep at this, and kind of not having a heart to heart, but they're about as close as you're going to get in this situation. So
Yeah,
Dean gets
she
that.
tells him this story about her brother going missing and how
Yeah.
her relationship with her brother was similar to Dean's relationship with Sam.
So so yes, and so he fully thinks, well, I'm now going with you, because they have now gotten out of the car, and they think, and it's they have a pretty good idea as to where they're going. Dean fully thinks he's going with, but he just shook on it and got handcuffed to the car because he fell for that line of let's shake on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's
Yeah,
now
so
hand.
the traffic cams are 50 miles apart. They had the truck on one camera, but not on the next one farther down. So they're
Right.
looking for she said earlier in the episode that a lot of these private rural properties have their own roads that aren't on the map. So they're driving along looking for a private entryway that would be unmarked. They spot one, they pull over. I'm going to say this bothers me because, okay, again, it, all right, they were wrong about his height, but we just saw Dean's rap sheet. He's twice her size. Like he's 6'1", damn near 200 pounds.
Yep.
Like, what do you think she weighs? Now, we see her later in the episode. She can handle herself in a fight.
Yes.
I'm not in any way saying she is not a badass, but there's not a mark on him. Like it's not like she knocked him unconscious and dragged him over to the car. So she puts a pair of handcuffs on him. What? Like 10 yards from the car and manages to handcuff him to the door handle. Like, did she get him over there? Like it feels like I don't know. I don't see Dean just kind of quietly allowing her to handcuff him to a car. That bothers me.
I don't disagree with you at all.
Yeah,
I, I don't
thank
disagree
you.
with you at all.
All right, so we're hitting play. Dean is
Yeah.
handcuffed to the car.
And he's like, I really think you're gonna need my help. She's like,
Because
I'll
Dean still
manage.
thinks it's a monster,
Yep.
right? Oh, I love this line. I need to start carrying paper clips.
Clips. Yep. Absolutely. That's one of my favorites. And actually, if and here I'm gonna pause this just for a second because I can't talk fast enough with this episode. There's
There's a
too
lot
much
going on
going.
here.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. I can't talk that fast. So if we remember correctly in the pilot, he actually does get out of a pair of handcuffs with a paperclip.
You
So
are
we do,
correct.
so we know that he has practice. So we know he has done that successfully.
Yeah,
So
no, you're correct. And while you have it paused, it just as the sheriff is walking up to the house here, take a look. So I want to point this out just from a filmmaking standpoint. So when you watch this scene, we can see in the puddles, it's raining pretty hard. Like you can see the raindrops splashing in the puddles. But if you
mhm,
look behind her, it's not showing up on camera. So I mention that only because there are a lot of times it's raining pretty hard for the actors and it just doesn't show up on camera at all. So anytime like that previous scene where Jenkins was running through the woods where you can visibly see the rain on screen,
yep,
that's not a gentle drizzle.
nope,
Like if you can, as you're watching it, if you can see the rain on the screen, it's a deluge. Like they're getting soaked. Okay.
yeah,
And yes, that's
and
all I wanted to mention at this point.
okay,
And
so
there's the sketchy truck with the
yeah,
camper top.
absolutely, and an equally sketchy house.
Oh, this
Uh,
is just creeptastic, man.
yeah, absolutely. So she is just wandering up there like, "Hello?" like, it's almost like, please don't anyone answer. Um, so she's
What is coming
knocking.
out of this house?
Yeah, exactly. So she is just kind of looking around and all of that, and the door opens up, and we have a creepy kid.
This kid is so creepy.
Oh
We're
God,
gonna
we
go
are.
ahead.
Yeah, no, no. I was gonna say. So because I don't want to interrupt this part, we clearly have a creepy kid because you don't get creepier than that.
Well,
God,
all right.
that just
So
has
let's
like shining vibes all over
you
it.
do
It's like,
get creepier than this, but yeah, this kid is creepy. So let's take a look at our cards here.
yes, exactly.
I
I I feel like I
I
do,
do
maybe.
not have a creepy evil kid, but
Yes, I do.
you do. It's been like 10 minutes. I haven't gotten any, so I'm
Mm,
gonna drink for you.
please do.
While we
Somebody
have
should
it
appreciate
paused.
that because we don't get creepy evil kids very often.
We don't, and then we finally get one, and there's not even stingy cards. While we have it paused, this
Yeah.
kid is so creepy. She freaked Jensen out on set. That
Oh my God.
he says she freaked him right out. And so it coming up a little bit later in the episode. She and Jensen are going to have an interaction, and he said there's not a whole lot of acting going on. Like she legit scared him.
That's awesome. That's freaking awesome. I love it.
Pattern.
Alrighty, are we set or
Reset. Let's let it roll.
let's let her
Right,
roll?
right, right. Let it ride.
So she says, "So who are you?" Kathleen. I'm a deputy. She gets the kid's name, which it turns out this is Missy, and she's like, "Oh, what a pretty name! Is your mom home?" And the kid goes, "She's dead."
Yeah.
how how about
Oh God,
your
and you can see the snot in her nose. Like that. Oh God, she is filthy.
so she's like, so she asks, "Can she come in?" And the kid's like, "Nope." And she asks if she can show him a picture, and they show a picture of Sam. Oh, hold on, I'm gonna pause it here. So they say, show a picture of Sam, and the kid gets this snarky grin on her face, which I just love.
That's gonna hurt.
Yeah, and it's like, huh? And bam,
Wow.
she gets hit. She gets whacked over the head
So
by a
yeah, this
shovel.
actor here who plays Pa Bender, this is John Dennis Johnston. He's a journeyman actor. He's been in just 1,000 things, and he typically plays a villain.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he does so good with this role.
Mm-hmm. So so he, and then of course he compliments her, and she's on her job, I guess, basically of keeping the sheriff still, while so that he
Hmm.
could knock her unconscious.
Right.
So so now we're back at the car, and Dean has spotted the antenna, which now this scene slightly bugs me
Okay.
because, and I'll explain. Oh, we have a
Well,
son of a
something bothers
bin.
me about this as well, but I don't know if it's the same thing that bothers you.
So we have the truck, and we see that Dean is really struggling in that last scene to get that antenna. Like, he's really struggling, and you
He
see
can
the truck.
hear them coming in the truck with the whining growl.
Yep, and like you see that he's really struggling, and then all of a sudden he's getting it no problem. It's
He
like,
can reach.
okay, what happened to the you didn't have the reach, and all of a sudden now you, like, he's not even struggling there. Like, okay, suddenly you, like, where did the extra inch and a half come from?
I
Like,
would like to
no.
know about his extra inch and a half now that you ask that question.
So there so there's the paper clip that got him unhooked. Well, it's not paper clip, but you know what I mean. But
Yeah,
I mean,
no, he's using the antenna to
antenna.
pick the lock on the cuffs.
But
I
yeah,
have paused it because we do have a son of a bitch here.
yeah,
So we'll check our cards in just a second. While we're checking our cards. The thing that bothers me is okay, so there's a cuff around his wrist and there's a cuff around the door handle. He starts picking the one around his wrist. But when the two Bender brothers come around the corner, there's no cuff hooked to the door handle. Right. So
yeah.
Dean is picking the wrong handcuff. He's picking the wrong side because I doubt, like, he hears them coming. So he's not gonna take the time to pick both sets of locks on the. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yes, yes, and
yeah,
I didn't even pick that up. That good one.
yeah. So
Good
Dean is
good
picking the
eye.
wrong cuff here. But we do have a son of a bitch. So let's take a quick look at our cards, see if either one of us. I have a son of a bitch. Finally.
Yay!
Finally, the stingy cards are coming through for me.
If I do, I truly am blind. Uh,
Cheers.
cheers. Cause yeah, I do not see it. If I've got it, I'm really blind.
All right. Well, so before we hit play, these two actors that play the Bender brothers are Ken Kiersinger and Sean, I'm going to pronounce it Reyes. And they are both 6'5". So I think they just put out a call for actors bigger than Jared. Like, who can we get who might make Jensen and Jared look small? You two are tall. You got it. Congratulations.
That's funny as hell. I mean,
All right, hitting play.
yeah,
Hitting play. I'm
hitting.
hitting play. There
You're
it
hitting.
goes.
There we go. So
And he's picking the wrong bracelet on his.
yeah, and they're right there. You're
They're right
right.
there.
You're a
Cuff is
hundred
gone.
percent. Yep. And there's no way he could have gotten both in that amount of
Oh,
time. No way.
no. So
So
demerits have been issued, Mr. Ackles.
so and the brothers are talking about how fuming mad their father is that the cops are here and
Mm-hmm.
all that. And now we see the sheriff is in one of the crates and she is locked up and it's are you okay? And it's wait a minute, are you Sam Winchester? You're Sam Winchester, aren't you? It's like, yep.
Here,
And your cut
rescue you.
yep,
This is
your
a terrible
cousin
rescue.
yep, your cousin's looking for you. And I love it how he doesn't even blink of my cousin. He immediately knows like where is he? And he knows
Yeah, because
exactly.
he knows that Dean is wanted by the police, right? So he knows that if Dean is working with the cops, excuse me, he's got a pretext. So he's ready to roll with it.
Yeah. So, and then of course, here comes Dean and all
And
that. And I love it. Wait a minute, didn't I just handcuff you to my car? He's like, yep.
I got a trick or
Yeah, a
two.
drink or two. She's like, all right. So then it's very much, all right, we got to figure out how we're going to get the you out of here. Well, it looks like, and so basically, Sam explains that it's got to be in that box. And, but first, of course, it's wait a minute, they jumped you and they're human. It's like, dude, you're losing your touch. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
we have a dude here, so we're gonna
yeah,
check our cards. But yeah, we do have this conversation where he's like, "You must be getting a little rusty there, kiddo, if it's just a person. So let's check our cards. Let's see if either one of us have a dude. I have a dude.
Yay!
So
Yeah, I
I'm
realized
gonna
I completely like changed where I was going with that in like mid sentence. I was like, wait a minute, I may want to back up and like flip back around and explain that conversation because that was an
mm,
awesome conversation.
it's a fun
So,
conversation.
yeah.
While you're checking your card for a dude, the one thing I wanted to mention here is at a couple of different conventions, Jensen has talked about how incredibly difficult it is to act through bars. Like if you're in a cage or something or in a jail cell trying to, as an actor, because you have to be in your light and also be really mindful about where the camera is for both you and your scene partner. And I was thinking about that a lot watching this scene because now we've got, the camera's inside the cage filming Dean, it's outside the cage filming the sheriff and Sam. And so you can see everybody like, okay, here's the cage. I got to make sure I get my face right in the skull.
So yeah, that actually would be incredibly difficult. That and they're so tall that I could also see Sam having an issue of okay, where do I put my legs where I don't block my face from the
Right?
camera?
Yeah, they seem to have made the cages relatively sizable, but yeah, there's I just watched the season finale of Walker, and it's funny because that's something that comes up in Walker without putting too fine a point on it in case you haven't seen that and intend to. But there's a conversation about like how big of a person he is and whether or not he's going to fit in a space that they need him to fit into. So yeah, he's a big dude. It's a legitimate consideration.
Yeah. So,
You ready?
and well, no, because I just got kicked off.
Oh, son of a bitch. Okay.
Okay. All right. So we are unpausing right now. Do do do. Boop. Okay. So Sam has now pointed out to Dean where the controls are, and it's dude, they're just people.
Just people.
People. Man, you're getting a little rusty. I love that line. That line cracks
Well,
me
yeah, and they both have this same like, I'll be damned. It's just people.
up. And uh, I think, oh yeah, but we just got to my favorite line of our usual playmates. They have patterns. They make sense. This
People are
does,
just crazy.
yeah, people are just crazy. I love that line.
I do too. It's a great line, and it's going to come back in a bit. I
Yep.
also I want to point out this conversation that Dean and the sheriff has, where she
Yeah.
asks him if he's seen a car because he's
Yeah.
come across like a lot of abandoned cars on the property, and she's asking about a specific one that belonged to her brother, and he's like, "Yeah, I did see it." So he says when they take people, they must take their cars too, which I think is interesting because they take Sam, but they don't take Baby. Now,
Yeah.
presumably, they don't take Baby because Dean is the one with the keys in his pocket. But then it does kind of beg the question, why
Why
are they
take
taking, yeah,
Sam?
why are they not like turning out his pockets and going like, oh crap, how did he get here? And just leaving him knocked out on the parking lot or whatever.
So
Um,
so this is when we like so Dean is now downstairs like looking through and he's discovering just how fucked up these people are.
Yeah, they're
That
keeping trophies. Like these
yeah,
are these are some messed up bastards here.
yeah, that I mean, they're used to demons that hunt like spirit hunters not human hunters, which is what
Yeah.
he suddenly realizes they have encountered. Now, I'm fairly certain that picture that we just spotted is, I think that's the sheriff's brother.
So the
I
one that we just saw, the one that he turns upside down, that's Jenkins.
Oh, that's
Because
Jenkins.
you can see he's got the two puncture wounds in his chest. However, there's a whole wall here of Polaroids.
Yeah.
So one of the other photos could very easily be her brother, and I didn't catch it. What I do love about this scene, though, is again, we've got this line from Dean that Jensen says in his little soft Texas accent, where he says, "Demons I get,
Yeah.
people are crazy."
Yeah, I also, that is one of my favorite lines of the show. I
I'll say
love
it again. Demons I get.
people are crazy. And as much as I love a good Southern accent, he doesn't really have one.
No, he really doesn't. That neither he nor Jarrett that they when you really listen closely, you can hear it, but they work kind of hard to have a sort of a neutral accent. There are characters they'll meet later in the series with stronger Southern accents that bring out their Texas. But by and large, it's very soft, and every once in a while you'll hear it. And this is they tend to put a little bit of E in their I.
Because Lord knows
So
I love a good Southern accent.
I know that you do. So here they are. Dean has
Oh,
broken
oh, and
into the
I love
house.
it. And they discover that the things hanging down are human bones. It's like,
Those are
what?
human bones in the mobile. It's so
Uh,
gross. And
yeah.
okay, I'm going to pause this briefly here. Just take a second to appreciate this set. So this set by Jerry Wanick, and then George Newman was the set decorator. He was an art director responsible. Like this place is fabulous. Like there's so much like you can like the layers, like this looks like centuries of grime layered onto the walls. Like and there's so much stuff all over this house. Like when you're watching this, take a moment to appreciate this set because this is insane the amount of work that they must have had to do on
Hmm.
this particular set. So yeah, Dean is creeping along. He's looking for the key to get the cage open, cages to
Yeah.
get the sheriff and his brother out.
Yep.
Oh, this is
Eh,
so gross.
yeah. Well, fortunately, like they don't show anything.
They don't show
Like
anything. The sound effects sell this. Really. The
yes.
sound effects sell it. But so Pa Bender is in the kitchen butchering something I think we have to assume is Jenkins.
Yes. I
Which
was gonna
makes
say.
me really wonder about that sausage that they gave to Jenkins. What what kind of meat might have been in that sausage?
Oh
Because
God,
they're
I didn't
not
even
just
think.
hunting people,
Well, yeah, but they say they only hunt like two people a year, so to not attract
right?
attention. So how much meat can there be?
I don't know. I don't know. It could be something else. It could be deer. It could be something else. But there's a jar of a lot of human teeth here. And Dean is like, "Oh
Oh,
my goodness." He hears this noise behind
goodness.
him, and here's this
And
creepy little girl.
yeah, and it's very much okay. I'm not gonna hurt you,
I
and she's like,
oh,
I know.
oh gosh,
And
she's so
suddenly
freaky.
he realizes, oh fuck, like, and now
Yeah,
we have a brawl. Oh, and then so in this particular scene, which is an amazing fight scene,
this is good.
he gets disarmed th- and thrown against, like people get thrown against walls. I mean, there's so
Yeah,
many
Dean
things that so
he
many
drops
things
his
happen.
weapon There's a lot here, and then
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk about because we're gonna pause and check our cards in a second. I love
Yeah.
this little moment here where he's like, "I'm gonna kick your ass,
Your
and
ass.
then I'm gonna kick your
Your
ass,"
ass.
and then
And then
Pa Bender
uh,
comes around the corner. I'm
and
pausing
knocks
it
him out.
here.
And
Hits
knocks
him
him
in the
out
head with a
cold.
frying pan that makes a very Bugs Bunny bong noise when it hits him and knocks him out. So we have we have a Dean gets thrown into a wall, he
Well,
drops his weapon and he gets knocked out. So we need to check our cards for those. While we're checking the cards, this actor who plays Missy Bender would go on to play a character named I wrote it down. Here she is. This is Alexia Fast. She plays a character named Sandy in a film called Jack Reacher that would not come out for several years after that. I think that came out in like 2012, something like that. So, she's older. She's in this film, Jack Reacher. And there's a scene in Jack Reacher where Reacher is in a fight with a couple of different people, and he starts saying, "I'm gonna break your kneecap. I'm gonna," like, he starts pointing at people and telling them what he's gonna do to them during this fight. He ends up being right where Dean doesn't. But I think it's kind of a fun little parallel, even though like they're years apart. It's kind of fun that this scene happens here with this actor, and she'll later appear in a similar scene in a different film with a different actor. So let's take a
Absolutely.
look at our cards here, and we need a Dean gets thrown into a wall, or someone
Yep.
gets thrown into a wall.
Yeah. I was
Which
like, I was just quickly looking. I don't think I have
I don't
any of them.
have. Dean drops his weapon. Yeah, I was jabbering. I didn't look. Somebody drops there. No, I don't have
No.
that either. Dean
Nope.
gets knocked out.
Mm.
Uh, someone pours it. No, someone exorcism. No, don't have any of those.
Son
I'm
of a
pissed off
bitch.
about it. Why I don't have that either.
I don't
Um,
either. I'm like, how the hell did we have just had that amazing scene with like
Nothing.
bingo
Nada.
squares
Oh,
up like
nothing. Nothing.
everywhere?
Well, and it
Nothing.
gets worse because as we come back from this commercial break here, we've got a Dean will be tied up.
Oh,
I don't
I
have
got
that
knocked out.
either.
I uh I just got knocked out again.
So, all right, so we don't have any of those. As we come back from the break here, Dean will be tied up, and I don't have that either. Um,
Nope.
but
Son of a
they are
bitch.
about so frustrating. They are about to torture Dean. So while we're paused, I'm just going to mark off torture.
I'm afraid to check because every time I check now, I lose it. So I'll
Yeah,
look
we're
later.
having some technical difficulties here that poor wizard Dave is going to make disappear for us. But yeah, I have torture,
All right, I will check later. All right.
and
All righty.
I've had a little bit more because I feel like I've been cheated. Okay,
We've all been cheated this episode, let's
stingy
be honest.
cards.
All
Okay,
righty.
so coming
So,
back, we've got Dean tied to the chair.
the
He's
chair.
he's regaining consciousness.
Yep.
Uh,
And so now we find out that how much of a hunter these guys really are.
Oh, this is so gross, and, like, you
And
can
look,
all
just look
but
at their
smell.
teeth.
Oh,
Just look
their
at their
teeth, man,
teeth. Ah!
you can like, smell-o-vision, like, you can smell these people through the screen. Like,
Oh my.
oh my goodness, they are
Ugh.
gross, like, their Missy's hair is matted, their
Yeah.
clothes are dirty, their teeth are abominations.
Yeah.
Like, this is
So this is
you can
just
see Dean. It's like, oh, like you can
oh,
tell these folks are eye-watering.
this is just disgusting.
Yeah, so you've paused it.
Well, just I wanted us to talk about that, and then I wanted to discuss what Papa is talking about right now.
Yeah,
So
yes.
so yeah,
Go ahead.
so Papa right now is discussing he's how he's been hunting all his life. Deer, cougar, you name it, but there is nothing like hunting humans and
Yeah.
holding their lives in your hands and the fear in their eyes just before they go dark and
Mhm.
how powerful that feels. And Dean goes, "You're a sick puppy."
Yeah.
And suddenly he goes, "Give him a weapon and
Yeah, like we
let's
give
let
them
him."
a fighting chance. This
Yeah.
is this is totally fair. Okay, y'all are serial killers.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, he's just like, "Oh yeah, you got plenty of sloppy,
Yeah,
because
don't sell
we're here with
yourself short. You're plenty sloppy.
yeah, we're here. I'm here with a cop. Clearly, we and he's like, "Are you a cop?" And uh, he's like, "If I tell you, will you promise not to turn me into an ashtray?" I love that line. That cracks me
Yeah,
up.
this
And
is Dean. Like Dean knows he's in the shit and he's getting snarky. So yeah, they've clocked him in the face. And he's like, "How about it's not nice to marry your sister?"
then
So yeah, he's taking digs where he can get them. I love this line, eat me. No, 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 wait. You're right, actually, eat me.
so So then the guy's like, "Okay, you brought this down on my family." And the guy brings out the hot poker, and suddenly it's like, "Oh fuck. Fuck, fuck, fuck."
Yeah,
It's like, "Okay, we're no longer playing." It's like, "I'm no longer playing games. So we're gonna," and he looks at the boys and goes, "We're gonna have a hunt after all tonight." And Dean gets to pick the animal, the boy
right.
or the cop. And it's like, no one else is coming. I've stopped playing games now. And he
Great
gets hit,
special
and he
effects here.
yep, as he gets hit with the hot poker, and we have a son of a bitch, which I
We
believe we
do
had one.
have a son of a bitch, which we'll look at in a second. I love
Yeah,
this shot
yeah.
here with
Oh
the
yeah.
hot poker reflected in Dean's eye. Like that is a gorgeous shot.
Yes, it
Um,
is.
So Pop Bender takes the key off from around his neck. He hands it to one of the sons and he's like, just shoot him in the cage. I want to pause this here because we need to check our cards and see if we have a son of a bitch. But before we do that, what I think is I wanted to ask your opinion about this, Liz and Lynn. So I almost called you Liz, and I'm like, no,
I
I'm
heard
Liz.
that. I was like,
I've forgotten who I am. But they have this. So essentially, they make Dean choose. Are we
yes.
going to hunt the cop or the boy? And Dean, I think, makes an interesting choice here. I wanted to ask you your opinion on. So he says the guy, hunt the guy. And I thought it was an interesting choice because, like, we know how Dean feels about his brother and his responsibility towards his brother. And yet, given a choice, what animal are we going to hunt? He tells them go after his brother. So, what do you think about that? Well, I'm checking my card here. And I do not have a son of a bitch. Son of a bitch, I do not have it.
Honestly, I don't think I do either. My thought was between the two of them, like as he's let out of the cage, the two of them could take him on. And he's thinking that he and Sam will just immediately go into their usual and take both of them down at the same time. So
Mhm.
it's like, so he's like, I just need my fighting buddy, and we've got this.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing that so you're saying he thinks he thinks like as soon as Sam gets out of the cage, he can take care of himself.
Yeah, and like the two of them will then just go into their usual, like it'll be
Yeah,
the norm of both of us will, like I think he thinks that he's going to get out of his predicament in time to meet up with Sam, and somehow he will be there to help protect his, but like like
yeah,
somehow in his mind he's like, I will finagle this, like
yeah.
there's, because losing is not one of the options.
No, that's interesting. Yeah, because I had a similar thought that, because we've seen this before, in episodes like Faith, where, the boys do not trade lives. And if it comes down to a question of, okay, are we going to sacrifice a civilian or are we going to sacrifice ourselves for a civilian? They will always choose to sacrifice themselves for someone else. So my assumption here is that sort of like you, that Dean believes that given a fighting chance, his money is on his brother.
Hmm.
That Sam is, if you given the opportunity, Sam can take care
So,
of himself.
yeah,
Um, and Sam is going to get away, and that this is going to give the sheriff, the best chance of survival, is if Sam is out of the cage. So I went a slightly different direction than you, but I started in the same place. I agree with you. I'm just taking a quick peek here. Okay, there's nothing else I wanted to mention. So are we
all right,
ready
well,
to go on?
since I'm already off the screen, let me quick scan. I almost am positive I don't have a son of a bitch either, which
No son of
I'm
a bitch, no
no,
torture.
no, no,
No, the
no.
supernatural cards have not been kind to us. Somehow I am still managing to go through all of my drink stash, however, and I am now in my backup drink stash. Somehow, despite the
Damn.
stingy cards, I'm managing to. Well, I'm drinking for both of us.
Oh, okay. Well, that is true.
I'm
Oh,
I'm I'm
son of a bitch!
drinking
I
for
got kicked.
two.
I got kicked out again. God damn it.
Damn it.
Ah,
All right, so we're hitting play, and we've realized that yeah, so Pa Bender has given these instructions. Don't let either of them out of the cages, but shoot them both.
yeah,
And Dean,
and Dean is like, what the hell? You said you were gonna give them a chance,
oh,
and
Dean
now we
loses his
see.
shit. He's like, I will kill you all. We've got a close up of this bracket that Sam managed to pull down from the ceiling.
Yeah. And we see that the brother did not do what he was supposed to do, and
He didn't listen to Pa.
nope, and he let the door open, and just as Dean thought he would, Sam got the upper hand.
He does. Yeah, given he's able to use that bracket he pulled down to distract Lee Bender. And yeah, immediately gets the upper hand in the fight. So now he
Yeah,
sends Jared Bender after Sam, played by Jared Padalecki,
yeah.
and leaves that creepy ass
The
kid to
kid
guard
with
Dean, and she's got the knife like
knife.
in his
It,
eyeball.
oh God. And of course, right as Sam goes with the gun jams. And
Yeah, that's bad luck. Um,
they go to, do the lights and realize that Sam has knocked out the lights, and that it's
yeah,
not
and I
just a
love how
fuse.
we really get a showcase for how smart of a fighter, like how strategic of a fighter Sam is. That he's outnumbered, he's weaponless, and he immediately goes into resource mode. Like, okay, what do I have? What
Yeah.
can I do to give myself the best chances in this scenario, and he pulls the fuses so that they're all in the dark.
Yep.
Um, yeah,
Yep.
so I do like that aspect of this fight.
Yep. Now, I think this is interesting how you think she is going. We are led to believe she is ducking into the closet.
Mhm.
And one of the brothers comes over and basically unloads his weapon into that closet, and we very quickly realize that she's not in that closet, and she comes swinging around and pretty much ends up on his shoulders and
Yeah,
and
she's scrappy. She drops down out of the loft onto his back, and she's got him. Like
yep.
this is a good move on her part.
Yep. And I love this. You stupid bitch. And he's like, and he moves in just right, and the son shoots the father.
Yeah, Jared shoots Pa Bender because Sam ducks out of the way. So at the end of this fight, uh, Pa Bender and both brothers, they're all three of them are knocked out. The two
Yeah.
brothers are each locked in the cages. Why he puts one in one cage and one in the other cage instead of like consolidating so that he's got room for all three of them, is because that's the way the script was written. But so now he leaves. I think this is really interesting. He leaves Pa Bender out of a cage with
With
the sheriff guarding him. And she's like, "Go ahead, I got him." And I think we see something really interesting in Jared's performance here as Sam, that he knows that if he leaves her guarding him, he knows how this is going to go, and
yep.
he does it anyway.
Mm-hmm. And we get to this line that I it's freaky, but I just love the way this plays out. And
Mm,
he's like, "You hurt my family." And and he realizes who her brother is. And he's like, "Just tell me why." And he says, "Because it's fun."
fun.
And, and you see the look on the sheriff's face and you hear a
Mhm.
gunshot.
Yeah.
And you know exactly what she just did. And
Yeah, he was
and
shot trying to escape.
shape. Yep. Yep. And so the boys come running, and she's like, "Where's the girl?" "Locked in the closet."
Mhm.
"And where's Pop?" "Shot trying to escape." So it's like, okay, and you can see Dean just kind of looks at Sam, and they look at each other, and they're like, "Okay, nice cover story. I can go with that."
We're going with it.
And
Yeah.
then Sam looks at Dean. "I think the car's at the station. How?"
Mhm.
And she goes, "So I think the state police and the FBI are on their way, so I think you might need to get out of here." And
Right,
says,
because now they're witnesses to her crime.
"Yep."
Right.
And Dean's like, "Any chance we can get a ride?" And she looks at him and goes, "Start walking."
Start walking.
Okay. Like,
Yeah.
he
So, I mean,
knows.
it's really best for everyone if Sam and Dean are not there when her backup arrives, because
Yeah.
like she shot a guy in cold blood, and so she doesn't want any witnesses there for what she's done.
Nope.
They can't be caught by the police because they're both criminals. Dean is supposedly dead and a
Dead.
suspect in multiple homicides. So it's just better for everyone if the two of them walk on.
Yep. Absolutely. So it's like, okay, let's start moseying here. Now normally I'm watching this on a much bigger screen, but if I remember correctly, it is actually raining in this scene. which I
Yeah,
can't.
it's Vancouver. Most of the time it's raining.
And yet you can't see, you can see it in front of them and behind them, but it's not raining on them.
No.
We know we I've already vented on this enough. We know how I feel about it.
You have. I don't share your dislike of that, but you are correct that they're, they have put their actors under a tarp when it's pouring. But that is our so it's something I think is kind of interesting about this episode that again we see this scenario with the boys where they don't trade lives and they're put in this moral quandary of what do we do when the monster is a human being? What is the right thing to do here? And I love this little exchange where, the sheriff says that Pa Bender was shot trying to escape. And the two brothers look at each other. And again, it's one of those like
Yeah.
they communicate so much without saying a word that we can see it in their faces that they're like, okay, this is the right thing to do here. Which Dean, that was always where he was at, but this is a bit of a change for Sam after what we saw in an episode like Nightmare, where he was not on board with killing a human being. So this is it's honestly the thing that I loved the most about this episode.
Very interesting. It's
Now,
funny how the thing I love the most about it kind of changed for me as I was watching it. Well, that there are two things about this
mm,
episode that I like the most.
tell me.
One, and it goes back to last week's episode as
Mm,
well. I love how Supernatural doesn't show excessive gore.
mm.
Like that's one of the things that
You
about
say
this.
that now.
Okay, it so far has not shown excessive like it shows enough to give us, it could show so much more, and it, like, the point. You knew what the guy was doing in the kitchen. You knew that they were torturing the one guy. You don't have to show it in great detail to get your point across. They did it last week. Also, like you just subtlety works extremely well. The mind can fill in the blanks extremely well.
And
So
often your mind will fill in the blanks with something far worse than what they could ever show on television. Going back to
yeah,
Skin, where they had that point where the shifter leans over and whispers in the woman's ear. They had conversations about what can we have him say here. And they decided, you know what, we're just going to have him whisper it because the audience is going to fill in that blank with something way worse than we would ever be able to get past standards and practices on
yeah.
a tele on the tele on a network television show. So yeah, you're absolutely right.
So yeah, and the other thing that I thought was done that I just love, and I know I've talked about this before, is just the little quick one-liners and the subtleties. Like
Yeah,
those are things that I just think they play to both the stars' strengths so much. They know how to
they
write the
do.
scripts to play to those strong suits, and the actors do it so damn well. So
Yeah,
well.
they've got a talented cast here, and yeah, I completely agree with you. And it's something that, the first few episodes are what they are, right? Because when the show gets picked up, they have to have a certain number of episodes in the can, so to speak. But once they started filming, and now we're in the back half of the season here, the writers started to be able to see what Jared and Jensen's strengths were as actors and started writing to them. So there's this really great symbiotic relationship between the writer's room and their two quarterbacks.
Yeah.
At this point in the season, we're really starting to see come to life. And I agree with you. It's something that makes this show extra special.
Yeah, as well
Um,
as you're also starting to I mean, not that we haven't seen it for a while, but just that chemistry between the
yeah,
brothers and that the all that unspokenness and just their timing is just so good.
yeah.
It's amazing. I
It
love
is
watching.
really amazing. So other than the fact that they like a bunch of cowards, they put a tarp up over their actors who are going to be standing in the pouring rain for 8 to 10 hours, and with electrical equipment. Other than that, that bothers you. What did you hate about this episode?
There are I got I know that this is one of your favorite like writing combinations. This is as much as there are a lot of things about this episode I do love.
Mhm.
This
It's a great
isn't
episode.
Yeah, it's not one of my favorites.
Okay.
That there's a lot of little things that just nag at me. Like
Mm,
between like there's I I don't know whether it's just the fact that I when you don't have the and it's not mythology, I can't come up with the correct terminology, the right word. But I like when they really have to delve into the journal and all of that and mixing that in. And when you just have the two, I don't want to say that when you bring the human beings into it, it just sort of seems more hokey to me. But it
interesting.
doesn't se it doesn't seem as much their thing, but I don't know, it definitely is not one of my I mean, as I said, there are definitely aspects of it that I
Mhm.
genuinely enjoy. It's just not my favorite.
So I get what you're saying, and they even say that this is not our gig.
Mhm.
And I think, but for the fact that the Benders take Sam, I
Yeah.
think that they would arrive pretty quickly at the conclusion that this is a human crime to be left to the human authorities, and they would say, okay, this is not our bag, and we would leave town. For me personally, what makes it on the rare occasion, and Supernatural doesn't go to this trough terribly often, which I think is a smart choice. But on the rare occasion when the monster is a human being, I think that it makes it scarier for me because I know there's no such thing as werewolves. I know there's no such thing as shapeshifters. Like I am not concerned that I'm going to be attacked by I'm trying to think of a monster that's come up thus far, a Wendigo on my way to my car. But a man grabbing me on my way to a car, on my car, putting me in a cage to do God knows what to me, that is terrifying. So like I get what you're saying that it's not the Winchester's bag, it's not their usual gig, but for me that's what makes it even scarier that like this is something that could and has legitimately happened to people.
Yeah, and I guess just because I'm not I'm looking at it as more I'm looking for the nuances. Like
Mhm.
I'm not looking to be scared out of my I'm not looking to be scared out of my wits.
I know.
I know you, but like I'm looking for like just the meatiness of it, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I've seen this. Like to me, this if you watch like we've all watched enough crime shows, this has been done. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I've seen
I
this
get your
story.
point.
I've seen this storyline. So
Yeah.
I mean,
I
I
get
do
it.
get your point. It's it it is frightening. It is more realistic. It's we both have our reasons for watching the show.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. No, I don't. I've arrived at a different conclusion based on the same evidence, but I can't, you're the conclusion you've arrived at is well founded
Yeah.
for lack of a better term.
Well,
So for me,
that if we always agreed, damn, it'd be boring.
boring. What do you talk about when you agree about everything? I agree. So the thing that bugs me to your point about like the nuance of it, and I think that John Scheiben is an incredible storyteller. He writes some great scripts for Supernatural. The thing that bothers me a little bit about this one, and I started to talk about it a bit earlier, is it sort of doesn't make sense to me that they take Jenkins and Sam. Like if you're thinking about their MO and because they've managed to get away with taking people in a small area
Yeah.
for generations. And you start thinking about like what makes Jenkins and Sam attractive to them as potential victims. And it kind of doesn't make sense. And I mean, I mentioned it earlier where like, okay, they could go through Sam's pockets. Sam doesn't have keys, and they would say, like, oh shit, somebody's gonna miss this guy. Like somebody gave him a ride here. Because this is pre-Uber.
Yeah.
And I doubt that there are Uber drivers in Hibbing, Minnesota
Yeah.
in 2007. Somebody had to have driven Sam to this bar. Um, so it bothers me a bit. And I mean, you can say like, okay, these folks are not exactly burdened with an overabundance of schooling. But again, they've gotten away with this for generations. And this is like it just kind of doesn't make sense to me what these two victims have in common that would make them grab the two of them. They grabbed Jenkins out of a parking lot outside of his apartment. And then they grab Sam outside of a bar. So
Yeah.
there is kind of an internal logic in the episode that makes sense to me what makes these two people attractive to them as victims, which is a small thing. And I know your opinion is a little bit different than mine, but it's what makes this one of my favorite episodes of this first season is that um if that's all I can come up with to complain about, to me this is a great episode. I think it's filmed really well. And other than a couple of little quirks that bother me, I think they did a really great job with this one. So before we wrap up, I did want to just mention that we have received a comment from Leonardo Gonzalez 2180, and he wrote us, "Wow, YouTube knows me way too well. I finished the entire show a couple months ago with my girlfriend, and it has become our lives. I love the work you two put in. Keep it up." So, Leonardo, thank you so much for your comment. We always love hearing from our supernatural family. And certainly, Lynn and I appreciate the feedback that you're enjoying what we're doing here. Um,
Yes,
I do
definitely.
I do have to mention though, we what we do would not be possible without Wizard Dave. And if you
That
saw
ain't that the truth.
If you
100%.
saw the bonus episode that I put up about the graphic novel series, Supernatural Origins, you would see very clearly all of the wonderful magic that Dave pulls for us, because it was definitely a low tech version. Um, so absolutely, we really appreciate the feedback. And if any of you out there have any feedback for us about things you think we're doing well or things you would like to see us do differently, please absolutely, feel free to comment or send us an email at hunterfuelpodcast@gmail.com. Make sure if you run into a supernatural family member in the wild, make sure that you tell them about our podcast. It helps other people to find us if like, subscribe, comment, and always feel free to follow us on Facebook or Instagram at Hunter Fuel Podcast. In our next episode, we will be watching season 1, episode 16, Shadow, when we find out that Sammy has a thing for the bad girl. Until then, stay safe, everybody. Bye bye.
Bye bye.